to just talk just briefly about why I think it's important for people to know my background. The fact that I had two great parents, Depression era parents who are 92 years old, still live in my childhood home. My father and mother only had at most a ninth grade education, and so we lived in public housing for the first years of my life. And then my father was able to get a skill, fairly good job, and we moved into a house that they still live in today. I did not realize how we were of the lower socioeconomic status until after I went to high school, because I went to middle school with kids that were the same as I was in elementary and middle school. And when I got to high school, someone asked me, where did I live? And I said, I live at such and such address, and they said, oh, you live on the other side of the tracks. We literally have a railroad track that runs down the middle of our town. On one side are people that have more, and some on the other side that have what people would say less. But what I will tell you is that what I had was so wonderful because I had two wonderful parents. And I am informed today by the parents that I grew up with. Parents who taught me about never give up, work hard, and good Christian values. And I tell you that because it informs everything that I do today. The second piece of that I want you to know is that I had a high school counselor who saw something in me that I didn't even see in myself. I was able to get a scholarship and go to college, and if it weren't for Mr. Whiting, I would not have been able to go to college. And so the second part of that is he taught me always reach for the moon. If that's a goal, if that's something you see that is right for you, you go after it. And so both of those things inform me about where I am today and what I have done throughout my career. As Brian has already said, I ran for the state house. Back in 1998, you'll all remember the state income tax being proposed by our then governor. And even though he had campaigned with me of a no state income tax, he asked me to support it, and I could not do it. I promised the people I would not do that. And so I fought that, and we were able to prevail so that the income tax did not get passed. The other thing that while I was in the House that I think is really important is that I was the sponsor of SJR 127. For all of you, you know that was Yes on One, the amendment that was done that restored common sense protections for women that were seeking abortion. I'm very proud of that. I carried it in the House. When I moved over to the Senate, I was the sponsor in the Senate, and it wasn't until I got to Congress that it actually got on the ballot. And when the night that was passed, my heart leapt. It really, it touched me so that I had to get on my knees and thank the Lord for what it was that we were able to do in our state to preserve those kinds of protections for women. And I also am so excited that the Sixth Circuit Court found 3-0 that it is constitutional and it will stand. And so I hope we don't have to go to the Supreme Court for that. I also am a registered nurse. I still keep my license. And one of the other things that I did while I was here in the state of Tennessee is to work very hard for healthcare issues. I was able to pass the bill here in the House that changed the healthcare system for those who want to stay at home as they age, and that actually was one of my most proud bills that I did with the then Governor Bredesen. He wouldn't allow my name to be first on the bill because I was a Republican, but at least it was the second. My name was the second name on there. And I have made my life really around healthcare. That's actually what took me to Congress. When I saw what was going on with the Affordable Care Act, which is neither affordable or caring, I knew that we had unwound that here at the state level. I'd been a part of that, and I decided to go to Congress. And since being in Congress, I've had the opportunity to be able to work on reforming the Affordable Care Act, also being the budget chair, and working on the tax reform. And so people say to me, well, why do you want to come back to the state of Tennessee? Why don't you want to stay in Washington? I actually think people stay there too long. I'm a proponent of term limits. I don't think people should stay there forever. I didn't term limit myself, but I did say, when I do those three things, I'm coming home. We were able to pass the most conservative budget that's been passed in 20 years. We were able to repeal a piece of Obamacare on the piece of the individual mandate. There's still more work to be done, but that's a huge one because it now gives people an opportunity to say, this is what I can afford and this is what I want. And if you don't get what the government says, you're not going to be fined. And that is a really good thing, especially for people in middle and lower income. And then the third thing is our tax reform, which I'm very, very proud of. To have worked with the president, we've worked really hard on a number of these issues, but the tax reform is the biggest one. And we already see the results of that. We see the stock market going crazy. We see big companies like Walmart, and I think today Home Depot put out some information about how they're going to raise the salaries for their for their workers. And I think we're going to really see this economy just break wide open, and I'm very proud of that. So what do I want to do here in the state of Tennessee? Why am I running for governor? There are three things. One is jobs in the economy. Now look, there's a lot going on here in Knoxville that's really good. The economy is booming. It's booming in Nashville. But other areas where it's not booming is in rural areas. And I want to be sure that we are giving them the equity that we're giving to the areas that are doing well. So I want, in those areas, what I'm hearing in the rural areas is that they need more broadband and they need more infrastructure with roads. The second thing is education. For too long now, we've been saying, if you don't go to a four-year school, then you're not really going to have a good opportunity in life, and we know that's not true. I want to put vocational education back in schools. I want to do aptitude tests for kids in the 7th and 8th grade so we can see what their God-given talent is. And then we can help them to get to where they need to be the best they can be. And you know, for some, that's using your hands. It's not necessarily going to a college, but maybe going to a two-year school or to a program where they can gain a skill. And then the third thing has to do with healthcare, and it is the opioids and the drug scourge that we have right here all around our state. And finding a way that we can help people to, number one, not get addicted to the drugs that are just causing so much problem in our state. But number two is working with our law enforcement to be sure that we're doing what we need to do to keep the pill mills from just handing out these pills to people. We also need to work with our medical providers so that they're not overprescribing. And then for those who are addicted, we need to make sure that we're giving them recovery programs that are appropriate to get them back into their life. And then the last one that I'm going to say real quickly is that I love Tennessee values. It's one of the things that my parents taught me on Christian values, and that's what we have here in the state of Tennessee. And I'm going to guard those, and I'm going to protect them. And why is that important? Because we have so many people moving into our state that don't have those values when they come from New York and California and Illinois. And so I'm going to jealously protect those. Look, I have a lot more that I could talk about, but I know my time is up. My staff has given me the 1 minute. And so I just want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to be able to introduce myself. We'll be around a lot more. Allie is my field rep here, and so we'll have an opportunity to let Allie know what we can do to answer your questions. I'll be back a lot, and I appreciate you allowing me to talk tonight, and I would appreciate your vote on August the 2nd. Thank you so much.